Let the winds carry you on a prayer. May your joy and laughter roll on ocean waves. We will sing forever as one. Ocean waves eternally one. Ocean
Hello, friends. Darren, Doc, Justin, whatever you got. Wonderful day. May. It's May. Today we're gonna talk a little about Talk a little bit about the prices that I farm, prices of why I think stuff's gonna go up, why I think settle out, and things that you really need to be paying. Kind of little prepping, kind of little conversation. We're all gonna arrive. For some reason, it looks like my not picking. We'll see if it looks like it's acting up. That later, but let's get Mark. Mark, welcome, gentlemen.
Hey,
Doc.
hi guys.
Somewhat verify, not break. Actually,
Give me a second.
well. Anyways, welcome everyone. Your kitty, Don, Max per Ash, Logs. Thank you guys all so much. Very much. And I know some of those lemons probably from last week, but I think I forgot to thank. Plus, I'm trying to talk a little bit.
Yeah. For some reason, you're breaking up in D-Live.
Okay.
It's kind of hit and miss. I don't know what you could do.
That's what I've got one thing I can adjust. That actually problem because I noticed.
See if Mark can double check it too, because I'm on a wireless connection and I'm kind of way up here, whereas usually I'm like closer to the router. So I mean, it's possible it could be my side.
No, the main reason I was asking is I was noticing filters. Let's see. I just wanted to make
I've
sure.
got a bunch of other shit running. So.
If that was doing it. Now it looks like it's not. Now it looks like the little bars moving back and forth. So we should be good. So yeah, that was just what I was worried about. But I think the bar's now moving. Looks like you guys' bar is functioning as well. So I should be able to hear you guys as well. So spectacular, friends. Spectacular.
I don't know if it's spectacular. If this is spectacular, as long as we don't run out of gas.
Well, it's spectacular that you can hear me. That's really where we're going to start off at spectacular. We have to set
since
the bar
I ran
low.
out of good I ran out of really good gasoline jokes today. I mean, I ran out of them. I actually forgot. I had them when I got home, and I completely forgot about them by the time I ate dinner. So I was like, "Oh darn, should have written them down."
So, were you feeling any of the gasoline crunch where you're at?
Yeah, we are totally feeling it here. My brother was telling me about it all day. I was noticing gas stations shutting down as I was coming back from one job site. Now yesterday I didn't, but I was hearing other stuff from friends up and down the East Coast. So it's definitely they're saying, oh, it's only 7%, it's only 13%, it's only 8%, whatever. No, it's probably as of tonight, it's probably closer to like 50 to 80% are completely dry.
Really?
Yeah, so
50 to 80%. Come on.
Are completely shut down.
in your
Yep.
area.
In the whole state.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that some states are hit real bad. Down here, anything north of Charleston is for some reason is just fine. Anything south of Charleston, gas is kind of hit and miss. They're hoping that the trucks will make it to some of the places in time. They're hoping that they don't completely run out of gas. They're kind of asking people to not
It's
rush.
absolutely it's absolutely a shit show. And what I was amazed about was that people up here tend to get more blindsided by it. Then the media was like saying, "Oh, well, people in the South are hoarding it," and I'm like, I don't believe any of this because none of the stuff they were saying was matching up with our reality on the ground. And they were saying, "Oh yeah, call the radio stations and then type the stuff in." But either if people were even doing that, they weren't going to report on it properly because I was asking multiple people, and they're like, "Yeah, their estimates are like way off." And because it was moving so quickly, it was like seeing a wave coming, and you could get out surf in front of it, which is exactly what I did. So both my vehicles have 3/4 of a tank as of today, and I had to drive 150 miles today. My brother had to drive about 400 miles today, and he ended up at the end of the day not being able to find gas and having to hang the truck up. And his boss, and I thought they had their own station because they're like critical infrastructure. I guess they don't. I don't know. But he said
Okay.
that he couldn't even get his cards to work at the last two stations he found that did work. For some reason, their credit card or whatever wasn't working, and he called his boss and said, "Sorry, but I guess it's screwed. I don't know what to do at this point." And so there's people literally they're just gonna be like walking away, and
Okay. Okay. That's So, the gas station, we got the heads up. We have a friend who is a gas station clerk down here, and she gave us the heads up that there was a good chance that the gas station nearest us was going to run out or be very extremely low. They weren't. She wasn't sure, and so she told most of us down here, and of course that spread around to a handful of people that we should go at least fill up our cars and some other stuff. And what the problem that we've had down here is when we've had gas stations run out of gas, it can sometimes be 2 or 3 days before we get gas back. So what I did is I made sure my car was topped off, which it was pretty much topped off anyways because I knew that the gas prices were supposed to be spiking anyways. So I actually just went and I filled up about 15 gallons of gas. Just 15 gallons of gas means that I can mow for the next week and I could do everything I need to do. It's not really hoarding, but that would get me through another week or two. So
I
that's
mean, my brother got a 200-gallon tank about a month ago and filled it up with diesel because one of his main trucks takes diesel, and he figured whatever because his oldest son, could get diesel really cheap at this fire station he works at or wherever. He works for multiple fire stations and does different things and works some construction part time. So he got this. I think it was from a guy off Craigslist. He got this really nice, only 5 or 10-year-old steel tank, which is in like brand new condition that can hold 200 gallons of the fuel. And like I said, son could get it for like, really good discounts. So they filled that up like 3 weeks ago and they've been using it here and there, refilling it once in a while. And he doesn't even live like real far out like you do. And I was just like, dude, I saw this coming because I heard about somebody predicting it, something like that. I was like, well, now it'll just happen that you'll get this in time. And of course, now diesel is one of the things that runs out less often. Like some of the stations today, they ran out of regular gas, but they still had E85 and they still had diesel. Now, how long that lasted, I don't know, because I was like watching it and hearing it in full time. I just happened to be at some of these places, and it was like people were caught kind of with their pants down. They're coming in with almost empty tanks, credit cards hanging out. Why isn't the machine taking my thing? And the manager had to go over and pull this panel out, and she's looking at it. And she's like, I'm watching this, like I said, in real time, and it was like kind of disturbing. But also, like, I mean, with me, I'm sitting there and I'm really trying not to laugh because I filled up where I'm at. Then I went down to the other state, okay, which is a little closer to where you're at, and then came back. But I knew I had enough coming. I knew like I was okay. But luckily, I got some here early in the morning. But then when I came back at 5 o'clock to where my house is, all the gas stations were either closed or had lines backed up all the way on the freeways and highways, which was what my brother was describing last night where he is at. He said all of them were like that. And then today, 80% of them are completely shut down.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick a state near me that I know had some gas shortages. I'm on Gas Buddy for those that are wondering. This is what I'm online, and I'm gonna go and pick. Um, I'm not sure if Gas Buddy actually tells you if the gas station's ran out of gas or not. Oh, it does. So here we are at Gas Buddy. I don't know if you guys, if you just want to see, I'm on Gas Buddy, gasbuddy.com. Here's Dansville. So Dansville has gas. Port Hayward, Virginia. This is the island stop. It currently says they are currently out of gas. So the Costco in Charlottesville. Wow, Charlottesville. The Costco in Charlottesville is out of gas. The Sam's Club in Colonial Heights in Virginia is out of gas. So the Sam's Club in Virginia Beach has gas. Norfolk Costco is out of gas. The Dodge store is out of gas. The Murphy's Express is out of gas. And now some of these are updated an hour ago or 2 hours ago or stuff like that. So, that's just a quick little zip through that's just a quick little zip through Virginia, which I know
They,
is one
so
of
they're
was
actually
one of the hardest
so
hit.
they're actually updating it at this point.
Yeah. So here in North Carolina,
Oh,
we've
boy.
got Walkerstown out of gas. We've got King Mountain out of gas. So this Crown in Clayton says it has gas. This Costco in Charlotte has gas. This one has gas. The Citgo in Newton's out of gas. Snow Hill's out of gas. Forest City's out of gas. Well, this gas station must be closed because their electric's closed. Their electric part of their thing is closed as well. So, so this is some people are saying now. Again, there's lots of reasons why this happened. Let's look in South Carolina. So Sam's Club. So here in South Carolina, it's about here. It look like it's about half and half. Let's see if any of the gas stations near me.
I get a feeling that a lot of the gas stations aren't reporting it either. They're just telling their employees to go the fuck home.
Well, this is what this is on Gas Buddy. You can self-report as well. So like if you go to
They
the
can
gas
say, okay,
station,
so a customer could report it.
yeah, a customer can
Not
self-report on this one as well.
okay,
So
cool. Right.
Beckley.
Oh shit, boy. Hey, how's
So,
Beckley?
Beckley was fine. I heard that Beckley was gonna be okay just because we weren't gonna have a rush. Okay, so this Go Mart here in Beaver, this is not very far away from my house, and it's out of gas. So this is probably
What a
about
fucking shit show.
this is probably 10 miles from my
like
house.
there's literally like no backup. There's literally no backup.
Okay, so
You know how they always like Trump always said, "Oh, we filled the reserves now." You filled them with what? Air, oil. I don't think you filled them with gas, and if you did, you didn't put them where they need to be. Are all the reserves sitting in Texas somewhere, or Arkansas, or Louisiana? Like, where are the reserves? And if we really did have reserves, they should be like in the filth state of New Jersey, so they can be backpedaled to the southern states. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They need to be somewhere where it could like either be pumped or not have to be pumped. Like it could flow from like a mountain on top, kind of between where you and I live. There's like some mountaintops.
well, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we should be doing. Like I'm still of a big advocate that I think it's a bad idea to be shipping anything across the country. I think there needs to be zones. I mean, we have zones for FEMA, we have zones for disasters. We have zones for we even have zones for the way we set up our senators and voting and such like that. But we should have zones for electric and fuel and power and such as well. And in each of these zones, there should be ways for that zone to be able to to power up and to deal with stuff. The last time in my life that I remember this was well, this happened actually to me twice in 2012. The first one was Superstorm. No, the first one was the Del Richo that came. I think it was late May, early June. of 2012 when the Del Richo came through and caused that crazy windstorm. Let me see if I can show yeah, this crazy Del Richo that came through and knocked power out everywhere and caused this crazy weather. That came through. I lost power for, I don't know, about a week. I lost power for about a week, and the gas stations around here all ran out of, well, some of them ran out of gas, and some of them didn't have backup generators, and all the backup generators were gone. So, so in that scenario, we didn't have access to power or anything of that sort. So that was rather annoying. And then Superstorm Sandy came through, and we still didn't have generators. That was in October of 2012. We still didn't have generators at the gas stations and such like that. The difference is because of what happened in July, and when I heard the Superstorm Sandy was going to dump us a lot of snow, and it dumped us a lot of snow. It dumped us 32 inches of snow in less than 24 hours. So that would be about 2.5 feet in snow in a couple hours. Crazy amount of snow.
2.5 feet in a couple of hours, really.
Yeah, let me let me see if I can, while we're talking about this, I'll see if I can bring up a video, because I have some old archive videos, old archive videos of it. But it was the most snow that I had seen, that I just couldn't imagine it. It was not what we heard. We were going to get hammered in snow, but we had no idea we were going to get buried the way we got buried. So, but it was, so be life. But because earlier in that year we had to deal with Superstorm Sandy, we knew that the gas stations were going to be out of gasoline again, and the stores were going to run out of food. And so we planned up, and we filled up some gasoline and some other stuff like that. So we were ready for it. So that being said, the reason I'm mentioning that now is because when my friend told me that the gas stations were going to run out of gas and such like that, I took it seriously, and so went and got a little bit of gasoline, about 15 gallons, like I said. So I also went and picked up some food, because I wanted to make sure I didn't want to run out of some food for my animals and such like that. Because if the price of gasoline is going to go up and the truckers are not going to be able to get gasoline here, that also means that they're not going to bring, just for risk reward purposes, they're also not going to be bringing food and such. And where I live in Appalachia, we are totally always last on the list. Like, if there's any place that's not going to get food, they're going to be like, we'll just not send it. We'll just not send it down there to Appalachia. They'll figure out a way to deal with it for a couple weeks. And so I prepped for that as well. Now, luckily, it doesn't look like it's hit us as bad as it could have. But as I say, I would rather get the heads up and plan ahead, and have everything that I need, instead of being in a situation where I'm kind of stuck behind the 8 ball and like, what are we going to do? Because I don't currently have any food or things or stuff for the animals. Because the animals are what I'm mostly worried about. Myself, me and Lisa can live on beans and rice for a very long time. We've done that a handful of times. So we've also challenged ourselves before too, just to see like if we can make meals out of everything in our pantry and everything that we usually stockpile, and the things that we've been saving for, all the different ends of the world that we've experienced. So that was like planning for the end of the world.
Yeah, I was telling Mark that we were planning on going vacation starting on Friday, about 4 or 5 hours north, and now I'm not sure, because I'm not getting stuck up there even with a 600-mile range Prius that she would drive. I'm not going at Prius, first of all, because I got the back problem. So I'm going to my vehicles that could half the range of that. Not getting stuck up there. And then the other thing is, worst case scenario, you took the other one and you get stuck up there. you're the only person or one of the very few people with a moving vehicle that's not, and most of those are going to be Teslas and Priuses. You think you're not going to get carjacked and maybe killed? Where we're going, it's like questionable. Like my brother's like, watch out for some shit, right? Because he's been
I'm
there. And
not
I'm
sure
like,
it's
it'll be like normal.
it's not Mad
So
Max just yet, is it? We're not quite in the Thunderdome just yet.
no, here's the thing: is that that's the thing too, is that it's like we're in a double bubble. Like we've really hard to take ourselves out. Like we're not even black. Okay, I'm not going to be racist. I'm just being funny and I'm trolling. Okay, just chill. Everybody's listening. Anybody that cares, doesn't matter. But my point is that we live in this kind of double bubble reality. Is that we're kind of not only behind computer screens at this point, we've never experienced anything like the Great Depression. The closest thing we've had is this COVID bullshit or our own personal tragedies and crisis. Some of us have been maybe lost jobs more than others, or been divorced, or made a few of us in the chat, not right here, but some of the other guys in the chat have been maybe homeless for a while, and had friends that are homeless for a while or whatever. But it's like most people in our middle class haven't really been through that kind of shit. They're kind of spoiled. They think that the food comes out of the grocery store and that it's always going to be there. And I mean, I kind of remember a little bit of the gas prices back in the 70s, but I only remember a little bit of it. But that was kind of manufactured. I mean, there's all this other stuff that can happen, and it happens in other countries like all the time. It's more common, like war and pestilence and famine and shit and floods. But here, it's like we have this really soft kind of behind the veil, not really spoiled, but a lot of people, really are spoiled. We're just used to it, and we don't think about it. And suddenly, this kind of thing can happen. It'll start to compound. Like the worst things can happen. It can be like a domino effect. And if you go back and listen to like James Wesley Rawls, who's that guy that's like the ex-military or ex-army intelligence officer that's like retired up in Idaho, and he's a super super duper survivalist. Has written all these books. If you listen to what he says, it really can compound upon itself, where people, you lost the gas, now you lost the food, like Doc was saying, it'll start to go into domino effect. And that's kind of what I was seeing today, was that people were concentrating on getting gas. Meanwhile, the grocery stores were like now kind of stocked up on most stuff, but maybe not everything. And I went in there and it was kind of like people had this really creepy kind of vibe about them. Like, are we going to see something happen like the toilet paper thing again? Could it be worse? And then people tend to panic buy, and they start to panic, and they start to like run into each other and fight. There was all these fights reported in North Carolina, South Carolina, at the gas stations, at Georgia. There's a lot of stuff not being reported. Police are kind of pulling up in there as they can, or like looking for it to happen before it starts happening now. And people are really on edge, screaming at each other for running through a stop sign or whatever. There's like, oh, the shit's going to shit. He's right. The fabric of society is really thin when they start taking the food or the gasoline or whatever away. It can be. So that's why I'm thinking I don't want to be putting myself in a questionable position without firearms and defense, and without a means to get out of at least right where I'm at or something. So we're going to play it by ear. We may or may not go on vacation, or we may go later or earlier and come back earlier, or we'll just I'm not going up there compromised whatsoever, for sure. So
I think you're right. I think I'm spoiled. I think I don't know how lucky I am, and I'm just used to just being fed, and I think that the food will just keep coming forever. And I think that that's true. Yeah, I do think the food will
it's
just
hard to
keep
take
coming.
ourselves out of ourselves. I really just reach for the peanut butter jar and hope, and I don't hope.
Yeah.
It's fucking there.
There's
Most time.
there's always going to be another peanut butter jar, man.
Well,
But not always. And I've run
I think so.
And Doc said he's been through some pretty rough times back in the day. It's been a while, but he remembers it enough to where he's like, you gotta. So Doc,
you might
can
have to
explain that.
switch. You might have to switch to Marmite for a bit. You might not be able to get peanut butter, but you'll be able to get something to spread on your crackers, and you'll be able to get crackers, but not necessarily the type of crackers that you like. But you will be able to get a cracker product.
okay, so I want to add in my middle of the ground between the two of that. So I absolutely agree with Mark, and I absolutely agree with Yam. I think you're both correct. I think it all depends on where you're at. So like me, I'm last on the list. They're more than happy to let the folks in Appalachia get the food last to give us the scraps, and let us fight over the scraps. Because the idea is if you would rather the folks in the country panic, you would rather the folks in the country be the ones that to go to arms and to go violence, because less of them are going to fight. Where if that happens in the cities, that's a bigger issue. And so you're going to make sure the folks in the cities never really feel that crunch of really important stuff. You know, like it was crazy because for my entire life, I never saw empty shelves before until I moved to southern West Virginia. Even when we had crazy ice storms in northeastern Ohio, even when we had, you know, that great power outage of the Northeast where we didn't have power for a couple hours, and everybody panicked, rushed, and bought. There was still always food, but there has been a handful of times down here, like an ice storm comes in and they close down all the highways, and then all the stores get bought out, and then you go to the store and it's slim pickings, or we don't have power for 5 or 6 days, and then the store is just empty, and you go up into the store and you're seeing like 3 or 4 cans. Or when COVID first hit down here, it was crazy going into grocery stores and seeing like 1 or 2 cans of stuff, like just up on the shelves, like bare shelves, because there wasn't people delivering and there wasn't stuff available.
It was only like that for a couple of weeks.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. It was only like that for a couple of weeks.
And the system just handled it. It just handled it. It just mopped it up, and it was just all right. Everybody just panicked buyed it, and then it was over. And then like we learned from that. So like the systems have adapted, and so if something like that happens again, we'll be much better geared up to be able to deal with it.
No, that's the difference. The cities might have learned from that, but in the country, it's not. The grocery stores would just close. They've said now.
I'll tell you from what I saw today. The sheep did not learn a fucking thing from the toilet paper debacle. They are acting the same goddamn way. Panic buying this shit, and all the emergency managers and people in like the police like sector of government, whatever, they're kind of watching for emergency services kind of shit. They're like, people, they can't, but the governors won't come out and say, hey, look, we need people to kind of dial back and just have the essential workers go to work at this point, because if everybody's driving and nobody's letting the gasoline stuff catch up or running stuff dry, we are going to be in a shitstorm. People don't really see it, and people are assuming all the police and emergency services have their own gas stations. I don't think they all do. There's a lot of them are supposed to, and some of them do, but I'm seeing some critical infrastructure stuff that doesn't have their own gas supplies. They were relying on public stations, and I'm like, oh boy, this could get bad if it goes on too long. Now, they just supposedly turned the pump on. They supposedly turned the pipeline back on like 5 o'clock today, but we'll see how long it takes. They say it's going to take a while to catch up, obviously. Maybe a few days or more. It could be a week or two. And they what if they run into another problem? What if it gets hacked again in 2 days? I wouldn't put it past it.
I mean, the thing is we shouldn't have felt this rush. We actually haven't felt the rush of this yet, because usually it takes about a week for everything to catch up. So what we're feeling right now is just the hype. This should probably go on for the next couple days, and then it'll settle back down. And the thing is this kind of stuff isn't necessarily bad for the system, because it's good when the system gets stressed, because we can start seeing what proper decisions can be made and what stuff like that. The difference is if you're in particular regions, like, you're going to feel it more than other things. Like if you're more in a rural area, if you're more in like an outlying area, if you're in a certain parts of the inner city, where they're going to stop giving, where it's no problem if they stop giving you a little bit of food for a couple days. So I don't know how to. Part of the reason I think they're doing all this is they just want to see how much we're willing to take. Like how much the normie peoples are willing to accept before they have to slow back at their push.
What we're arguing about is truth.
I think one thing I noticed, just real quick, one thing I noticed today was that they can fuck us they're letting us know how hard they can fuck us at any time they want to. I think this was like a warning, or it was a double purpose, obviously, like they always do. It's to make money for assholes that are on the stock market that invested in, this various suppliers of the gasoline and makers of the gasoline or whatever, or oil or whatever. But that's because some guys were predicting it that were like heavily into the stock market and looking at those stocks early on, like a few weeks ago. But they're really letting us know they can just do whatever the fuck they want. They can turn our food off. They can turn our gasoline off. So, I don't know,
Or
Mark. What do you think? I'm sorry, I interrupted Mark there.
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I wasn't speaking.
Oh,
You
okay.
were trying to.
Sorry.
Or what I was going to say, or the other thing is they also could be, maybe we're looking at, sometimes I think we mistakenly view the New World Order and the Illuminati as purely bad guys, and sometimes they might just be giving us the right amount of clues. They might be testing us. They might say, hey guys, this is what the future could be bringing, so I'm giving you guys that are smart enough the heads up to know what to be planning for in the future. So maybe it's not even nefarious. Maybe they know something like there's an ice age coming, or there's going to be a meteor that's going to block out the sun for a little while, or there's going to be something crazy. Let's just play devil's advocate for that. And maybe these are just ways for us to individually harden ourselves. And the thing is most of us don't take this lesson, because most of us just want to sit around and bitch about how horrible these people are, and not actually take control and do shit with our own lives. I'll mention to most of you. So we all watched the debacle of what happened with the toilet paper last year. So did that make any of you make any different decisions? Do any of you store, stockpile, or just have in stronger rotation any extra supplies? Because the other thing is we know the price of paper goods is going to go up. The price of paper goods has to go up because the price of wood is going up. So simply buying more of that right now saves you money. It locks in your current purchasing power.
What were you, Doc? You kind of dropped out there. You said, what were you trying to stockpile?
Oh,
Or
so
asking if we were stockpiling?
things like any type of paper goods, because we know paper goods are going to go up.
A little bit. Didn't you say food also, or no?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the food prices is definitely going to go up.
Definitely
Just because.
stockpiled some food, but not like a ton. But like at the same token, there's some things that I found out that maybe there's some things that went bad quicker than I thought they would, or some stuff that will last even longer than I thought it would. So it's like a mixed bag kind of thing too. So learning some of that stuff, and then also I got seeds that I haven't planted yet this year that I got last year that I'm definitely going to be trying to find some better soil this year to plant in, because I had some problems last year. But I was doing a little bit of experimenting last year too, and trying to help my aunt with some things and like fixing her house and whatnot. So I have a lot of things that I can't just worry about myself, but. And then one thing my brother and his kids are doing this year too is that they got like all these chicks and chickens to raise, and they're laying eggs. Like they're laying eggs at like the speed of light. I never seen anything like it. So I guess he's helping them with that while they were away, helping with a friend at something in like Pennsylvania or something somewhere. But so like a lot of people are trying to kind of pick up on that angle of it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing is we need to get back to where we used to be a little bit more energy and food independent. Like that is totally possible. And the thing is most of us aren't as energy or as food independent as we actually could be. It's not even that as we want to be. It's just as that we could be. It's not very hard. You don't even have to know a whole lot about that kind of stuff. One is to just preserve is to pay attention and make sure your car is in tip-top shape, so that you're getting the best miles to the gallon. Learn some tricks about your
One
car.
thing that's one big thing I've done in the last 2 years is I've gotten almost all the repairs done on my vehicles, and some improvements and shit where, that now a lot of, like, even today when I went, I noticed a huge difference today compared to when I didn't have some stuff taken care of even about 6 months ago, and there's still a little bit of more stuff I even have to do from that point, and I'm like, or from now, and I'm like, wow, what a good difference. Thank God I did that, or I would have been sucking like even more gasoline today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean that's all the little those are all the little tiny tricks that we can do. And the other thing when it comes to food independence, like maybe you know how to make bread, or maybe you just like beans and rice. Then go buy some extra beans and rice and store that beans and rice for a while. And then you always have that. And then just, of course, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make, and my family is also notorious at it, is having food that you never open. If you're going to have a stockpile and you're going to do this kind of stuff, you actually need to be rotating it properly. The same way you would do with your gasoline, the same you would do with like, the stuff that you have. You right on top of it, and then you go through and you rotate it properly. Or you do things like your brother did. You get out there and you start raising a particular animal, or you start raising particular crops, or you just do something, you start making something that you normally would purchase, and you start making it yourself. And things of that sort, and things of that sort can really help you move ahead. So
I'm gonna jump in here with my
Hey,
naive
Lester.
viewpoint.
okay.
Hello. It's what I do best. I don't fully understand the petrol shortage in the USA, but yeah, I wanted to say that this is why I don't see a conspiracy behind what we're talking about, specifically with regards to food. The lesson that seems to be being put out is that we should all be more self-sufficient. If this is the lesson that we're meant to take from it, right? It's a good lesson. So, yeah, I'm not seeing a sinister, sort of methodical.
Why is the petrol getting more expensive?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't been through that, you should explain it to us simple foreign types.
It hasn't gone up that much. Considering the clusterfuck that's happened right now, I expected it to go up more, but I think they have gouging preventions, like laws and things like that at this point, because I would have thought it would have been way more, but because some places would take advantage of, if they could, like years ago. But yeah, I think it's just more of that this supply chain broke down instead of the actual supply, like physically there.
Well, now,
Because demand hasn't really gone that. People are being really kind of assholes, and they're like not saying, "Hey, let's just park the goddamn vehicle and drive the bicycle." It's not like it's fucking winter outside and you've got to take a vehicle or you freeze to death. So,
Nothing
I
new
mean,
there.
but we've got such distances here. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to be driving a bicycle to. I couldn't drive a bicycle to work. I'm able to drive a bicycle to the grocery store. It's not too far away, but
yeah, but see, let's address the bicycle thing first. So American cities, 90% of American cities are not designed for anything other than a car. We've suburbanized all of our cities so that you can't drive anything but a motorized vehicle to and fro. And instead of city planners being smart and trying to compact the cities and making them walkable, rideable cities, they're going to use the excuse of, oh, we're just going to get electric cars, which is not actually going to solve the issue. And then there's a whole lot of other issues that happen when you expand your cities and you pull your cities out. And that was just an absolutely mistake that Americans have. So you'll hear a lot of Americans talk about, oh man, I wish our cities were like the European cities. And the truth is, our cities used to be like the European cities up until the 50s when we put in the suburbs, and when the suburbs came in, the suburbs completely just destroyed small town USA, and people stopped investing in the inner city, and people started investing on the suburbs and the exurbs, and everybody got a car.
Yeah.
It's just that the thing that's sad is we could have kept our love affair with the car in America. We easily could have kept that and still just had the car for weekend cruises and for weekend getaways instead of like the main way to do everything. Like I have friends that kids are in the that lots of activities, and instead of those kids being able to walk to their activities or riding a bike to their activities or things of that sort, they get in a car. Like I know kids that have probably that are probably teenagers that maybe spend an hour on a bike. I mean, that's crazy for me because I used to ride a bike all the time. I always wanted to ride a bike to school, but the way when I moved to the suburbs, because I was an inner city kid. When I lived in the inner city, I could walk to school and I could ride a bike to school. When I moved to the suburbs, it was just a little too far away to be able to do that. But I would have loved to have been able to ride my bike to school. Like that just sounded cool. So, but that wasn't options. And now it's less and less and less. I mean, even the same inner city that I lived in, where my sister lives in the house that I grew up in, kids don't walk to school anymore. They get drove to school. And that just blows my mind. But anyways, regardless of all of that, going back, so you were asking about like the petrol prices in America. So our petrol prices are they're so closely tied to trade is part of the problem here in America. When we were refining all of our own gas, and when there was a disposal stockpile and things were really well, gas was very, like last year gas got down to I think 119 is what the cheapest I saw it in places. So that's for a gallon. So if and just so you know, guys, everybody that's American that's watching this, if right now we paid the same price as Illister and Mark paid, we would be paying at the bottom of the line. We would be paying about $6.11 to $6.50 a gallon. That would be at the bottom line of what they are currently paying. And so, we're the ones bitching about $2.89 a gallon, and they're right now paying, between $6.11 and $6.50.
We do get better petrol than you, though.
It pays for all our socialized healthcare, man. Like, we're fine. Don't worry about it.
But what I was trying to give a comparison to is like that would be our bottom of the line. You guys wouldn't even sell that gas. You guys wouldn't even sell that kind of gas over there, but that would be like the cheapest that we would see. If we had the same types of taxes, if we had things like that. So I'm not saying it's a good thing, because that being said,
you don't have duty.
That all being said, like if we had $6 a gallon, like when we get $6 a gallon gas, you're going to see a complete shift in America. I am absolutely positive of that. You're going to see people aren't going to be willing to sit and idle in lines. Some people are going to choose to stay more at home. You're going to see a lot of stuff change. And then the other problem,
it isn't possible to make petrol that expensive unless you tax it by fiat.
Yeah, but they'll try. I'm not.
Okay.
They're going to try.
Yes, they will. And the Americans like their gas guzzlers, and that stands in their way. And I'm very glad that fact exists.
So
they're not. They can't control that. They don't control oil. What we're arguing about tonight is whether or not the New World Order have got enough control over oil to do that. And I don't think they have. They never did.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The Americans now are energy independent. They have been since the Obama era, actually. North America has more than enough oil. They're no longer dependent on Saudi imports, which I think is a good thing.
No, it's a really good thing.
Everyone's kind of independent in terms of energy, like more or less. It's not like a centralized system. The world isn't. There aren't single points of failure in the world. Like if anything breaks, there's just other systems elsewhere that can just take over.
But let's talk about the big buzzwords though. You have Chevy and Ford saying that by 2030 they want to have all of their consumer except for their one or two sports cars, all of their consumer vehicles electric. So I actually I still say that's a horrible idea. I don't think they'll end up doing that. I would be more on favor of if they want to try to switch them over to the hybrid mix. I don't like the idea of all electric. But I know
there isn't enough lithium, is there? To do that.
It's about how you extract it.
Yeah, there probably is enough lithium, but you want to talk about environmental degradation in the places where the lithium is currently at. Like we will be exploiting the hell out of black and brown people. So like I don't understand how the lefties would actually be able to promote all of the horrible things that we're going to have to do to get that lithium.
We don't like to talk about it, but yeah, the Bolivians, I think, mostly have been subjugated already with the help of the Doge Daddy himself.
Mhm.
Papa Mars, Elon Musk has been no, literally systemic. Apparently, in strong arming the American government into making sure that the lithium salt flats in Bolivia are open to exploitation by essentially American firms under a different name.
And
But the,
and you have the lefties right now talking about how they're so excited that they really really hope that we only have electric cars by and I tell them, well, okay, well, let's talk about hydrogen fuel cells. Like that might be an interesting alternative of a different type of car, and like I'm okay with like yeah, I just don't know how long it's going to take the people to accept that the electric's doing damage, because most of my friends still think solar panels are the greatest thing ever, and they still absolutely love wind turbines, even though. And then when I point out to the numbers of migratory birds and bats and birds of prey that get killed by the giant turbines, they just tell me that that's just a giant conspiracy from the gas companies. So yeah, and then like Lisa just pointed out, and then what happens when the batteries are too expensive to replace? Then we just put them in a box, and now we've just made disposable cars. It's all absolutely insane. And the thing is I'm all for alternative types of ways to power cars, like Tata in India. They have that car that is ran on air. It doesn't go very far. I think it's got like a 40-mile range, but you pump the thing up with air and then you drive it. That's pretty cool.
yeah, but Doc, how many Americans do you know that are going to be all about the 40 mile range air powered buggy?
The same
A
people,
lot in California.
the same
Well,
people that
really?
are going to buy the smart car, the same people that are buying the little box smart cars, are the people that are buying the the electric Vespas. Those type of
I
people.
don't. I bet that it's bet something like 95% of journeys are less than 40 miles or something like that, right?
Maybe
It
not in the States, but
it
yeah.
depends on where you're talking about in the States.
Even in the States.
No, no, you don't understand. Americans like to go to their favorite Walmart, even if they have to drive past two other ones.
Okay, well that's not 20 miles there and back.
Well, isn't the bigger issue, and we've sort of danced around it already, the power of the big lobbying groups. I think we all agree that the suburbs sort of grew up because of planning laws. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Those planning laws were overwhelmingly influenced by big auto at the time.
Yep.
And that was a net benefit probably at the time to the American economy, because American car manufacturing was like a big deal, and it was efficient, and it was a world leader.
Well, let me
It's no
pause you.
longer any of those things.
Let me add one other thing. Another thing that happened during that time of the growth of that is they changed the way cities could borrow money and do bonds. And so what ultimately happened is, prior to that, a city was not allowed to go bankrupt. A city was not allowed to raise so much money. After that,
it's the zoning.
they allowed cities to be able to redo things so they could go bankrupt and things of that
in
sort.
different zones, and if you were in
Yep.
one zone or not, then you were screwed or not, if depending on the area that you were in.
So you
Red
could go into debt,
redlining.
basically. It's a debt mechanic. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, it's a debt mechanic. Yes.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah,
I'll give.
to me the like you said auto, and like we're talking about redlining. I thought that the cardinal thing of redlining was actually like a conspiracy by collectively the mortgage companies together decided to treat different areas differently in how they were giving mortgages, and that created the zones in the way that they are.
That played a slightly different role. But what Illuster is talking about also played a role, because when they wanted to expand the suburbs, they didn't care who the middle class was, as long as that middle class people had money. And so there was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
suburbs of different colors, and that didn't
Yeah.
matter.
It was not about race. It just happened to affect a lot
Yes,
one race disproportionately.
it did.
It's
Yes.
not about race. That's pleasing to hear.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't. It just happened to be the way it
It
fell out.
it never is about race. It's only about capitalism ever.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so, like here's something that I've been, so for 15 years I've been down here fighting this. So I've got a lot of neighbors. Now, on this road I live in, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's about 20 houses if I go 2 miles down my road. Okay, so let's say 2-mile radius, there's about 20 houses off of this. The state, the county and the state keeps talking about wanting to put sewer in. I say, I don't want sewer. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. Everything about sewer sounds horrible. And I've got a lot of neighbors that are older. They're just like, oh, I'd love sewer. Then I don't have to deal with my septic tank. And I tell them, okay, so how often do you have to clean out your septic tank? Well, we have to, well, you know, it's a burden. We have to clean it out every between 5 to 25 years. And it's about $300 to clean out the septic tank. If we get sewer, it'll only be $20 a month on our bill. And we won't have to worry anything about it. And I'm just like, are you guys that bad at math? Like, and then what they also are going to do, depending on how much it crosses your property, that's how much your taxes are based on how much the line crosses your property. Well, where they want to run it is, quite a bit through my hayfield.
You end up being responsible for that sewer.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's blocked and it's on your property, it can be you that has to pay to dig it all up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Having a sewer is much more of a liability than a septic tank. A septic tank is far more reliable. Septic tanks don't break. Sewers sometimes stop taking your sewerage. Septic tanks don't. Or when they do, you can sort of tell.
So I've told everybody, I'm like, you're not running that across my property. You can run it across the street. They're just like, well, we'd have to move the church and that kind of stuff. And I was like, then you're gonna have to dig up the road or move the church. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I, in one of the years that they talked about, when I really thought that they were going to try to do that, I just planted a whole bunch of trees, and I knew all the trees were going to die. But I just went and got a bunch of junk trees, and I just planted a bunch of junk trees right on the line that they said they were going to need to put the sewer in. And I was like, oh, those are my Christmas trees for my Christmas tree farm I'm starting.
There's arguments to and fro, you see, because there's advantages to having a sewer running through your property, because it warms the ground for free for the rest of your life along that area. So
I have no desire for that. And the other thing is because I know what they're going to have to do to run the sewer, because I know where the bedrock is and I know where the streams run, and they're going to have to go, and they talked about, oh, we're just going to have to move that stream, or we're going to have to pipe up that stream. And like, I don't want you to do any of that. And so like my neighbors all know that I am not going to let them put a sewer in. Like, I will fight that. I mean, I've even made to the point where I'll fight that if they start doing it, somehow their equipment will roll down the hill or stuff like that.
If you need to divert a river to put a sewer in, then you're not putting a sewer in.
So, but anyway, so we talk about stuff like that, and then I just realized like how it goes back to this whole like how soft we as folks have became. So, but how did we get on the sewer thing when we were originally talking about gasoline? I don't remember. That's just how that's how normally things unfold pretty quickly. By the way, guys, I know there's probably a few other people watching. If anybody's interested in jumping in and adding to this conversation, here is the Discord link. You're welcome to join the Discord. You're welcome to jump in and give your opinion. And even if you, by the way, guys, you don't even have to, for those of you that might be nervous about signing into Discord, you can actually just go to that website. You can just do a quick sign in with just some like random name, and then you can just jump into the Discord, even if you only want to ever use it once. And that way you don't have to, it's nothing that you have to spend a lot of time doing or, giving away any private information about it. Just use a burner email or something like that, and you're welcome to jump in and have a conversation with us. So.
Well, can I ask, what do you guys think about what's really going on? Because food shortages are definitely a common theme. The group, sort of like Britain First sort of group online that I joined, they had very, very similar messages. We were sharing and watching for. There were a couple of weird incidents, basically. Water treatment plants, most specifically, sometimes recycling facilities, food storage depots. This is all around the time that we left the EU, so the beginning of this year, when food shortages were kind of expected. Also, like the supply chain, we expected it to fail, basically, and it sort of did. But yeah, like, is there a conspiracy here that we need to be aware of, or is this just?
Yes.
Is there something else going on? Like,
Mock's kind of listing like a domino stagger effect, like the way they would run a flow chart if they were doing what Alex Jones talked about 10, 15 years ago was full spectrum dominance. So they're going to run it, okay, first they attach COVID with the food, then they get the healthcare system, then they get your vaccines, get your next vaccines. People maybe get the vaccines, they're going to die. They're attacking the fuel supply, maybe next power supply, other things. And they've always been trying to push for guns and whatnot. But whether they're turning us against each other, whether people just get enlightened and just stop fucking driving so much, or go to Tesla and bring his ass out, it's just, they're trying to move us slowly in that tiptoe direction, getting us to lead ourselves into the slaughterhouse or into getting fleeced better so that they'll like us more. I mean, Mark, what do you think? You think that they're going to succeed, or does it matter?
It's just agenda 2030 stuff now. They're pushing they're trying to push people out of the country and into the cities. They want everybody in cities all together in a place where they can control them, and they can control the movements between the cities. Right, that's what they've said all along, and that's what they're doing. It's a surprise.
Well, the vectors, these are terrorist vectors, right? When the security services think about how foreign powers or cells might fuck up our country, these are the things that they look at. They look at water, they look at food, they look at telecommunications infrastructure, and they say these are the ways that we would do it if we were them. So what you're saying is that they know that, and they're using it themselves, and it sort of makes sense that the Americans would be first because they have such a big rural population, I suppose. If you're going to do it anywhere first, you want to make sure the Americans were cucked before anybody else.
It's been going on for a while. A lot of people just didn't notice, and one thing I noticed, and it was like, again, I could draw these dot connector kind of things, but I can't really prove it. But when I was like 10 years ago looking at other places to move, and even 20 years ago looking at other places I could move or something, like I noticed a lot of the smaller towns, like even the ones that are kind of bigger than where Doc lives, but smaller than where I live, a lot of the houses were being like abandoned, or they were being moved out of, and the prices were dropping so low that you could get a house for like $10,000 or $20,000, whereas like around here it was like you're lucky to get a little place to live for $500,000, and or even more now. Like in San Francisco, it's like you can't get a townhouse for less than $1 million anymore, or $2 million. It's ridiculous, And so they were like encouraging people somehow to move to the bigger cities because they were taking the jobs from the smaller towns, that even if they did have jobs. So I saw that like happening very gradually, and I think when you add all this stuff on top of it, plus you add the COVID crap on top of it, it's just like it's basically just like a big orchestrated disaster almost.
So the thing is there is no food shortage because we can grow all the food that we would ever need, and it's easy. Like everybody right now, with a little bit of with just a small bit of personal sacrifice, with some of the stuff you're used to right now, you could get all the equipment that you need to start growing your own food. You might not be able to grow all your own food, but if you had a couple friends that you live near and you guys had a garage, you guys could do it. You guys could grow all the food that you guys would need. And it might take you a little while to learn all the tricks and learn what grows best and such like that, but you could do that. The other thing is there's going to be farmers that are going to be in small towns, and there's going to be farmers that are going to grow all the food that you're possibly going to need because they're going to want the money. The thing is that food's just not going to get shipped very far. That food's going to be very localized and close. So if you live in a farming community, you will never go hungry because somebody, a farmer, will always have food for you available, and it'll probably also be at a reasonable price. The problem is that the closer you get to the bigger cities and things of that sort, that's when the price and that's when the food's going to get more and more and more expensive because they're going to purposely not bring the food into particular areas so they can control what you eat. So they can have you eat particular things, and then they can take the food that they can either sell for more, or they know that there's particular clients that want that food, and that food will start going to those particular areas. So it's a combination between capitalism and a combination between corporate greed. Either way, they're going to keep making food because there's going to be people, especially rich people, wealthy people, middle-class people, that are always going to want to buy food. The difference is it's the average folks and the middle-class folks that's going to hurt. And this is where we have to pay attention, and this is where we have to be real about things. That no, there's not a food shortage, that a lot of these people that are making this giant scare tactic about how we're going to run out of food and that kind of stuff, the truth is the only reason we run out of food is because they make us run out of food, because they don't ship it properly from point A to point B, or they stop the farmer from being able to harvest the food appropriately. Because there will always be someone willing to buy that food. And if someone's willing to buy food, then a farmer's willing to grow it.
Yeah, I mean, we're all lucky enough to live in parts of the world where, like, it's not an issue, right? It just comes up out of the ground. There's a really great Mitchell and Webb skit about it, where there's a farmer who's talking about the fact that he makes money by literally
combine
planting seeds
harvester,
in the
mate.
ground. Yeah,
Combine harvester. We
Exactly.
invented it about 30 years ago, about 40, 50 years ago if you're in America. Combine harvester just changed food. It made it so that one person could produce enough food for, rather than just be 10 people or 100 people, he could produce enough food for 1,000 or 10,000 people.
We all agree that
that
monoculture
had never happened before. That's only just happened in like the last 20, 30 years. So like as our way of humanity thinking about food, we still think about food as being something that can run out. But now there's too much flour on the planet, mate.
Well,
it ain't gonna run
I
out.
disagree. If we lived in a small village in, northern India right now, then yeah, we'd feel slightly differently about that, I'm sure. But the point is, we all agree like monoculture is wrong. Like American agribusiness is.
Well, hold on. Let's address that. Most monoculture crops. What happened here?